Yeah, it
works.
Good afternoon, dear students. Today with you, we are going to discuss types of translation.
I'm not good at using gadgets at all.
Today with you, we are going to discuss different types of translation. And as it is seminar class, you will be asked, you will be required to reflect on the past lecture, where together with you, we define and already discussed several types of the translation. And for this, to begin with, I have decided to make a kind of warming up activity, guys, and here, with the help of the different cards, we will see what types of translation do you know, because in the cards that you are going to take and get acquainted, there are given definition of several types of translation without nomination, of course. So your task will be to choose the card, to read the definition and try to guess hidden type of the translation, okay? And should I once again repeat the types of translation that are hidden in these cards? These are literal translation, literary translation, informative translation, then transcreation, sense to sense, rhyming translation, and the last was free words translation. Okay? Any volunteer to begin with? Okay.
Yes.
So you have got 7 options to choose. Choose any of them, please, and try to read it out.
Some kind of translation is a word-for-word rendering of a text from the source language into the target language, preserving the original structure and vocabulary as closely as possible. It often ignores idiomatic or contextual meanings. Example, from German language, ich habe, it means hunger. Literal translation is I have hunger instead of I'm hungry. I think it's obvious because it says it's word for word and it preserves the original structure and vocabulary. I think it's literal translation.
Right. Thank you very much. You are quite right. Then, any other volunteer?
The next is focuses on conveying factual or instructional content accurately and clearly, without artistic embellishment. It is used in manuals, reports, news, and academic texts where clarity and precision are essential. I think it's informative.
Yes.
So others, do you agree?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Right, you are. Then, any other volunteer? Come, please.
It's a process of recreating content in the target language with the same emotional, cultural, and persuasive impact as original. It often involves rewriting, adapting slogans, idioms, and advertisements to resonate with a local audience, used in marketing, branding, and advertising. Transcreation.
Yes,
Great.
transcreation.
Right, you are. Thank you very much. Then, what about who is right?
The translation involves translating creative and artistic texts such as novels, poems, plays, and essays, aiming to preserve the original style, tone, and imagery, emotion, and literary devices. The goal: maintain both meaning and authentic impact. It is a literary translation.
Do you agree?
Yes.
Yes. Right. Thank you very much. Then, another volunteer? Dinora, will you try?
To intense the matter, be it or rhyming structure of the original text, particularly in poetry or songs. So it flows similarly in the target language, since may involve changing words to preserve the rhymes. Goal: recreate the musicality or the source. Is it rhyme translation?
Yes, and usually it is used in translation of
Poems.
poems. Right. Thank you very much, Nora. Any other volunteers? Medina Bono? Want to try? Why not?
Conveys the intended meaning of the original text rather than translating each word or phrase exactly. It prioritizes over understanding and naturalness over literal accuracy. Also note about uh, sense-to-sense translation.
Yes, right, you are. Thank you very much. And the last part? Any volunteers? It's okay.
Is used when translating poetry that does not follow a fixed matter or reason. Uh, it focused on capturing the imaginary emotions and message rather than the structure or sound patterns of the original. Used translating modern or contemporary poetry and form are flexible. This is the literary translation.
Do you think?
Emotions,
So whenever we're
Oral
highlighting
emotions, and yes,
Isn't it phrase?
free words translation. And usually this kind of strategy is used in translation of
Prose.
poem.
Poems.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Relying on your answers here, we can say that you understood the topic that we have discussed all together. And now it's high time for you to show us your findings. And as a home task, guys, you were divided into some groups and be given some definite type of translation to discuss. And in that case, please, any volunteer group, let's say, to begin with. The first type of a translation that you are going to revise is literary translation. So, the members, is it okay if we ask you to come on the stage? Yes, please. Okay. So, others, please pay attention. In case if you will have any questions, you can freely ask them because they are good at defining a literary type of translation. And in case if you think that they are not paying too much attention for your speech, you can stop and ask some questions. Okay?
Literary translation. Literary translation is the art of translating creative works that include essays, poems, novels, and that is needs to be creative in order to translate literary works. For example, from the translator, the translator should focus on every sphere of the text, such as idioms, the atmosphere of the text, and of course the culture understanding. Because while translating the text in the another language, for that language, the reader should understand and feel the tone, emotional tone of the text. So the translator should always be careful and have a big understanding of the culture of the text, and should work hardly on the adaptation of the words, idioms to the another language. For example, if we take the Shakespeare's works, if we translate it in a French, the prompt translator should firstly learn about Shakespeare's lifestyle, the word plays that he used in his works, and after that, he or she should understand the atmosphere of the text and try to not lose that atmosphere while translating in the another language.
As Shahla mentioned, that literal translation is a translating poems, novels while considering its cultural nuances and its poetic language. Well, before talking about it, let's define differences between literary and literal translation. Literal translation is translating directly without considering its cultural nuances and the poetic language. While literary translation is include all the same, like its cultural nuances or poetic language. While we are translating some poetic novels, we came across some difficulties when we use this translation. First and foremost, cultural language. For instance, some words when we translate in another language, we can't define its correspondings. For instance, the word of the narrow doesn't exist in English or in other languages. What is more, another difficulty is a poetic language. What it does, it means rhyme and rhythm. Some, for instance, in Uzbek, we have like a qafia written A, but in English we have different. Like for instance, it can be A, and then B. So that translator must keep its rhyme and rhythm in a correct way. Otherwise, the meaning will be unclear. What is for the next difficulty is translator must keep other style. For instance, if the word is like emotional or about love or about sadness, when we translate, we couldn't change its atmospheric tone, so that it should be about sadness and the love by keeping the exact meaning. What is more, emotion is also plays a crucial role by while translating. For instance, if it's about happiness, and of course it should include happiness without changing other style tone. They are difficulties when we came across when we use literal translation.
Okay, translation of poems. It is an important part of the literal translation, and there are some branches of translation of poems. First one is meter. Meter is the number of syllables in a line. Next one is rhyme. Rhyme repeats sound. Usually it's the end of the word. Next one is stanza. Stanza is a section of poem. And there are some types of poetry translation. First one is literal translation. It is a word for word translation. We often use it for practice, but not poetic effect. Next one is sense for sense translation. Sense for sense translation focus on meaning does rather than its structure. Next one is rhyme translation. It tends to preserve the original rhyme chain while conveying the meaning. Next one is free words translation. Free words translation and translate poetry without strict adherence to rhyme and meter, but keeps the emotional tone. Last one is transcription, a creative form of the translation. It fits new language and culture while maintaining its sense.
Okay. So is that all, guys? Yes. Thank you very much. Guys, any questions to discuss the material that they have prepared for today's class? No? Yes? No? Thank you very much. That was it. And let us revise it once again. And I will ask you some questions related to this speech, and you will please try to give complete answer to the question. What is free words translation?
It translates poetry without
Appearance, the rhythm and matter, but keeps the emotional tone.
Great, good. Thank you very much. And here on the screen, we are using once again the poem that we have discussed during our lectures, and let us discuss it and analyze it according to the type of translation, relying on its translation. So look, sen bahor kelding yana, daraxtlar gullar yana, daraxt balki yaproqlari yashnab yana. So the short poem of Erkin Bohidov was translated into English language like, you have come, O spring again, bringing blossoms, sun and rain. Trees are waving, leaves grow free, fresh and green they are again. So would you please tell us what type of translation is used here in English version? Literary translation, do you say? So look at the words and look at the lines. So sen bahor kelding yana, you have come, O spring again. Daraxtlar gullar yana, bringing blossoms. Daraxtlar gullar yana is translated like bringing blossoms, sun and rain. Daraxt bargi yaproqlari, trees are waving, leaves grow free. Yaproqlari yashnab yana, fresh and green they are again.
I think this makes sense.
Right.
Translation.
Shahwa is right, because here translator wants to follow, to create the same structure that is given in original text, and in that case it is following rhyming scheme like A, B, A, and in case of if we just count the number of syllables in order to define the meter of each line, here again you can see that they match each other. So in that case here, in order to meet the rhyming and rhythmic scheme of the original text, translator added some extra words, and in that case, as a result, it leads for slightly changing the meaning of this stanza. For example, daraxtlar gullar yana, in translation, it sounds like bringing blossoms, sun, and rain. In original version, there is no any words about sun and rain, but still translator added the words like sun and rain in order to meet the meter of the line. Or in the case of the third line, like daraxt bargi yaproqlari, trees are waving, leaves grow free. Are there any words that shows us that trees are waving in original poem? No. So in that case, still again here, translator added some lexes in order to meet the meter. You see? In that case, here is the reason why whenever we are talking about rhyming translation, we are saying that in translation, the meaning slightly can be changed. Okay? Good. So, and the second group who prepared the information about informative text. Okay? So you may be seated in here. Or do you want to say?
It doesn't matter.
You may be seated. Okay? Good. So in other case, so here it is.
Okay. Talking about the informative type of translation, first of all, let's know what it is. Well, informative translation is a type of one of the types of translation, and there are like two scientists who divided types of translations into groups, and according to Kamisar's point of view, Kamisar's point of view, he divided types of translation into two groups, and the first one is I forgot the name. No, according to Kamisar's, the first one was no. Just I forgot the name of the
General classification.
No, here it is. According to genre classification.
Yes, according to genre classification and psycholinguistics. Yeah, informative translation is in the genre classificational, and if we talk about the second scientist's point of view, it's mosaic. Mosaic is classification. It is the informative type of translation is in according to the meaning. Informative texts and translation of these texts are a crucial aspect of translation studies, as they refer to the accurate conveyance of factual and objectivity of informative text, and it refers to translating some factual context or factual text in target language, and some elements of the informative texts are scientific articles, news articles, news reports, and technical manuals, legal documents, and some other informative texts. And unlike literary texts, they translating informative text doesn't require any creativity or some kind of stylistic devices to translate, but only it demands clarity and adherence to terminology. Yes, that's all.
Thank you very much.
There are some key features of affirmative translation. There are clarity and precision. It means the main goal is to deliver the information accurately and clarity as possible. The next one is neutral style. It uses neutral language without creative and poetic elements. The next one is terminology accuracy. It requires correct use of specialized vocabulary, and especially in fields like law, science, and technology. The last one is objective tone. It avoids subjective interpretation and emotional experience. Expressions. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Who will continue? Types of informative texts involves news articles, scientific papers and journals, instruction manuals, legal documents, technical reports, medical reports, business communication. Challenges in informative translation. First one is ensuring accuracy of facts or figures, maintaining consistency and terminology, avoiding ambiguity or misinterpretation.
Thank you very much. And who will conclude?
I'm going to talk some examples for this type of translation. First of all, water boils at 100 degrees at sea level. And the next example is the Earth revolves around the sun. The internet was invented in the late 20th century. And that's all.
And in translation, we have to fit, we have to match. What?
We have to match the clarity. The facts. It's not about to keep the sense or keep some meaning of the words, but we should concentrate on the facts.
And the fact should be delivered in
formal language, I think.
yes, and formal equivalency
It
should
avoids
be kept.
emotional expression like this.
And what for the objectivity?
Yes, it's needed because, as I mentioned before, it refers to the accurate conveying of factual and objective text.
Right?
Yes,
Our
objectivity is crucial here.
Great, good. And what for the cultural adaptation? Can we just culturally adapt some items or nuances in translation of informative text?
No.
Yes, no?
No. Yes, we can. For instance, there is a meal in the other country, but when we translate it, in order to give its informative meaning, we may change it to kilometer because it's clear to our culture.
Yes, and that means by this, we are, as a result, getting clarity for the target language audience, right? Whenever we're talking about miles, foods, eats, for Uzbek people, it can be a little bit difficult to understand what they are talking about. And here, so that is about cultural adaptation. So guys, thank you very much. Your speech was quite informative, and there is no any questions for you to ask because everything was explained completely. And so the next player, group, yes. Okay.
What is the oral translation? Oral translation is a process of converting spoken language from one language to another language real time. Oral translation divided four types. They are simultaneously translations, consecutive, whispering, and community translations. Now,
Simultaneous interpreting. Simultaneous interpreting is when the translator translates what the speaker says in real time with no pauses. It's often used in conference where the interpreter speaks into a microphone and listeners hear the translation through headsets. It requires fast thinking and excellent language skills.
The second one is the consecutive interpreting. Consecutive interpreting is a type of oral translation where the interpreter listens to the speaker's message in one language, takes notes if needed, and then convey the message into another language. After the speaker pauses or finishes the speech. The key features of the consecutive interpreting is the turn taking, note taking, and high accuracy, time consuming. And this type of interpreting is used in a medical appointment or consultations, business meetings, or in press conferences.
the third one is whispered interpreting translations. Whispered interpreting translates to the small group of person. Use it with only one or two people. Skill required excellent listening, memory skill, quickly thinking, and stress management.
Okay, great. And the last one was? Fourth one?
Community.
Is that all?
First one is listening interpreting. This is kind of in a small group setting, like a business meeting, interview, or a diplomatic visit. The interpreter acts as a bridge between two parties who speak different languages, translating back and forth after each speaker finishes in a short segment. These are some key features. Two-way communication, and the interpreter goes on both directions, French and English, or English and French.
So it's up to the language that you are choosing to translate, right? Sometimes it can be French and Uzbek and French. Uzbek and English, right? Okay.
And no, it could be are not recorded. Such as hit, six, and others.
Okay, thank you very much. So guys, any questions related to the oral translation for ladies? No? Is everything clear?
Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. And the last portion of information will be delivered by Mutabar, only you?
Written translation. Written translation is a type of translation. What is the written translation? Written translation is a process of changing the text from one language into another language. This means taking something written in one language and you're writing it in another language while keeping the meaning the same. It is also used in many areas like translating books, legal documents, or articles.
Great. So, Mutabar, thank you very much. And now in this point, let us compare and contrast two different types of translation according to its form. So, as we have mentioned before, according to its form, we can distinguish oral and written types of translation. What can you say? Are there any differences in terms of the process, in terms of the challenges, and in terms of the skills required to be engaged in these two different types of translations?
Of course, there are some like difference between these types of translation.
So
Talking about
let us begin with the challenges.
okay. Talking about the challenge of oral translation, it usually, as this group mentioned before, oral translation will be in the process of in real time, and the translator should think fastly, and it requires a huge base of vocabulary, I think. But what about the written translation? The translator will be free if he or she doesn't know any word. That person might search from the dictionary or search from the internet. But what about oral translation? And I think it's not possible. Only the thing that a translator can do is learning some special or related terms beforehand. And there are also some other challenges in, for example, translating written text. If we compare it with the oral translation, while translating orally, if the translator the translator, let's say, have a chance to make a mistake. I mean, in terms of some forms of the or structure of the sentence. But what about in written text? The translator should follow the strict structure. That person doesn't have any chance to make a mistake while translating the text in written form.
Okay, and in addition here, we can say that sometimes in oral translation, some let's say silly mistakes are acceptable because you are just doing it simultaneously, right? You are listening and trying to memorize the information and conveying it in target language, while in written translation, your translation should be clear, concise, and you are not tolerated if you make any grammar or style mistakes.
And additionally, while translating orally, like nonverbal communication, our gestures and facial expressions will come to help the translator. But what about in written translation? The translator should choose such kind of words that only the words should express the situation. Yeah.
So the same when we were talking about the translation of irony. Right? So in that case, to translate ironic sentences is quite difficult and challenging in written form, because in that case you have to preserve some punctuation marks, right?
But what about in oral translation? Just the translator can express the irony only with the tone of the voice.
Yes, right. Thank you very much, Leopold. And any other ideas about the challenges that translators can come across in oral and written translation?
In oral, sometimes speech will be too long to translate in simultaneously. For instance, so that in order to translate this directly, we may use some styles, for instance, chunking. Another difficulties can be fast speaking. You know, some speakers will speak so fast, translating it can be a bit time consuming. So then at the time, if you forget some parts, it's predicting or paraphrasing can be good idea.
And also words, idioms, or proverbs are main challenges, right? This is translating both oral and written translation, because in one language they may not exist or may have a different meaning in other culture.
For example, if translator doesn't know about the culture of some kind of country, it can face face translation because translator faced one unclear word. It depends on cultural language, target language. For example, in Uzbek language, Chopon, the another language people doesn't know about these words of meaning. That's why cultural people should should know cultural translation. And also another challenge, I think, it is idiomatic words. That's why translators should learn lots of idiomatic and phrases words. At the time, translator can translate fastly and clearly for listener. Yes.
Great, thank you very much. And now let us talk about the process. What do you think about the process? Is it the same or differs in terms of oral and written translation?
No,
It's
different. Differs. So let us talk about the process of translation in written translation.
In written, we will have a time to translate it. First of all, we may translate by using vocabulary or some cultural experiences by searching information, and we may revise it. But in oral, it's impossible.
So in that case, in written translation, usually we have to follow 5 definite steps, right? So the first one is whenever we're taking original text, reading it and completely understanding it, because without completely understanding the source text, we cannot start translating it, because sometimes the words can be used in figurative meaning, right? And in case whenever the words are used in figurative meaning, it can totally change its meaning, which it can express in a sentence. In that case, after reading and completely understanding it, you can begin translation process. Still, before translating the whole long-lasting paragraphs, we will be required to divide them into some chunks, right? So after translating some chunks, you can just recreate the target language text, the translated version of the source text. Then you have to once more compare and contrast the original text with your translation. And in case if you see that something was omitted or added, you will be given a chance to edit it, right? And later, after just addition process, so you can just create, you can just have the ready-made material for the person who asked you to translate the material. But in oral translation, can we follow these steps? No. We have to just listen carefully, memorize the information, analyze, and then translate it as soon as possible. Even though if you are translating it in consecutive way, still in a short period of time you have to memorize the information, and at the same time you have to express it. You will not be given any time to edit your translated version of the original text. Yes, so in that case here we can say that the oral translation is more challenging in comparison with the written. Okay, what for the skills required? What kind of skills are required for oral translation, and what kind of skills are required for written translation to be developed?
What about oral translation? I think it's certainly the translator need good memory.
Good memory.
And a huge resource of vocabulary
Right.
and listening skills.
Listening and at the same time speaking. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And what for the written translation?
And of course, like the translator must have a good skill, a good background knowledge about two languages. If it has a good skill, like background knowledge about English but doesn't have in his bag, of course, translation can be difficult both in oral or in a written, of course.
Great.
Yeah, and the translator should be able to express himself or herself with the right words. I mean, there are lots of people who says that I know I understand what it says, but I can't express it to you. There are some kind of people, but the translators cannot say just like this, and they should be able to find the words to express themselves.
Yes, right. Which can preserve the meaning of the person, which can preserve the meaning of the original text. Okay, great. Yeah, that was the end of the discussion part. And now, guys, you will be given 4 different texts, and your task will be to read it and to define which type of translation can be used in translation of these 4 different texts. Okay? I'm not going to ask you to translate it, but you have to just mention the type of translation that you can use in translation. Too much translation in this still. And you have to prove it. Just mentioning, saying that here we have to use sense for sense translation is not enough. You have to explain the reason why you have decided to choose this very strategy all the time. So you will do it in a group of 4. Is it okay? Yes? No? In a group of 3 then?
Yes.
In a group of 3. So Shaklo, please join them. For you? Yes. And is everything clear with the instruction? So you have to read the text and decide which type of translation can be used in translation. Okay? And you have to prove it. How many days do you give us? 4, 3? Wait a minute. Okay? And decide which type of translation you can So guys, you will be given 3 minutes for discussion. In case if you are ready, please raise your hand and we will start. Focus on those techniques that we have discussed during our warming up activity. As we have defined 7 different types, you can use some of them in this translation of these texts. So shall we begin the discussion? Yes. Are you ready with your answers? So okay, let us begin then. Any group who wants to begin?
Should we read the full text?
No, just read the title.
Yes.
Then we will discuss, because all of you, you have got the exact text. You read it already, and you know the concept.
Can we start?
Yes, of course.
The first title is Earthquake Preparedness Guidelines. It's clear from its title, it's about informative translation, because during the text we may come across how to prepare if suddenly earthquake happens, so that it's definitely informative translation.
Great. So others, do you agree with this choice?
Yes. Yes.
In Flatlaw?
We don't have this text.
You have. Thank you.
No.
Okay, still. Yes, you are quite right to choose the type of the translation, and they are in translation of this text, we have to use informative types of translation. Great.
Hope is the same with Feathers by Emily Dickinson. It is literal translation because it was written by someone with poetic version.
And literal translation. Any other?
Also, it is rhyme. A, B, A, B.
Rhyme. It is a rhyme translation.
Okay. Can we use the free words translation to translate these poems?
Our group, like,
We have different opinions.
yes, our option is free words for this part.
Okay. Why you have decided to choose free words?
Because like we to be honest, we eliminated other types of the translation because it can't be remake because yeah, I think it can. Like we thought like it's not like suitable for translate it with Ryan, and I think it's not suitable for word-for-word translation. And yes, like just with eliminating other types of the translation, we decided that the reverse translation is not appropriate here.
Good. Okay, the driver.
I think we came across with a rhythmic translation, right? Because when we translate, it's a poem, so the rhyme should be the same, keeping the rhyme, and so that we think that it's a rhyme.
And your version was literary translation. Right. So all of you are quite correct. It's up to the purpose of the translator. The translator is eager to preserve rhyming structure. In that case, it should be translated in rhyming version. If the translator is not interested in preserving the rhyming scheme, but he is interested in carrying out the meaning, that should be used reverse translation, and it can also be translated literally. Yes. Okay, great. All of the options are quite correct. Thank you very much, girls, boys. And the next group, the next text about
The last Tesla accelerating the world's transition to sustainable energy. It's a kind of advertisement for Tesla, so I think it's goes for transcreation.
No, I think it is written translation.
It's not a written also. And we think that it's an oral translation. With the help of quotation marks, we may say that like Tesla is giving directly speech. Like it's we may use it at some simultaneous translation. So that we can across as oral translation.
But drive into the future with Tesla. It can be
It's like a hook. When starting speech, hook and give a.
Personally, I think it's sense
Well,
to
I'm
sense
going to the
because according to its
electrical
meaning, not according to its form. Because first of all, when we looked at the title of this, we thought it's informative text, but after reading the whole text, we like Shahlo thought it's transcreation, but I thought it may be sense to sense translation because why it then there was option like it's word for word translation. It can be the word for word translation technique can be used while translating this text, but there are some like the phrases like innovation means accessibility, driving to future, and there are all other some kind of this word, and that's why we thought it can't be word for word translation, and that's why like my personal option is sense to sense. Keeping just the meaning of the speech.
So again, so thank you very much for your ideas, and it's up to the form again. If it is oral translation, if somebody speaks and you think that it was the oral speech, then you can use oral translation, and it is
simultaneous translation.
Or translation, right? But at the same time, here we can say that that is a advertising process whenever the person who is advertising Tesla makes a speech. And do you know the reason why? Whenever we are talking about advertising, so the hidden purpose there is to what? To sell the product, and in that case, the speech should be persuasive, right? And whenever we're talking about persuasive speech, sometimes persuasion can change slightly, relying on the audience, right? In that case, here we can say if it is the written form of the speech, in that case, here you can use translation. So you have to sell the item. And sometimes you can slightly change even the phrases that is used in a speech, relying on the social norms and cultural expectations of the target language. Okay, thank you very much. That was interesting to listen your options. And the last one is about Luna. Yeah?
Yes, the last one term. Our group's option is here. This text can be translated by using literary type of translation because the reason for this option is we saw some the phrases like wind hold, golden shimmer, stars guiding memories, sleeping village, and dark storms. Like, yes.
These are metaphoric expressions, right? And in translation, you have to
Translate it as literal.
Will like they are.
It's a literal translation.
Yes, they are stylistic devices. Like with a couple of stylistic devices, we can translate it into target language and.
It has emotion. It has a feeling, so that of course, if we want to keep the emotion and feeling and wider style, so that we must use literal translation.
We saw these things looks like somehow an oral translation.
No.
Yeah, it's a story, you know.
Yes, like storytelling.
It can be translated.
Because they use everything at night, he will.
So you thought that the narration was retail.
It can be.
Might be, why not? But in terms of the Tesla, why we agree with the choice of the level because they use quotation marks. Whenever we are narrating something, sometimes we even in quotation. Okay, and in terms of your option is quite correct. Yes, here you have to use literary translation. Guys. So, because of the time, guys, here we have to finish our demo lesson. But I had my extra stuff that was about using Kahoot, where you will be given a chance to show your understanding or the comprehension of the topic. But I don't think that in 4 minutes we'll get this. We will be able to play that game. That's why let us stop it here. Thank you very much for all of you. All of you were quite active. And you tried a lot to prepare your material for the class, especially the kids, the chatbot, the labor, then Diona, Muhayo, Mutapa, and the others. Thank you very much, and all of you have got your excellent mark for today's class. And for those who are absent, tell them to be ready for the next class, because we will start with them. They will make a speech, they will explain us the topic, then you will ask them some questions and they have to. Okay? Thank you very much, guys. Bye. See you.